Good day, everyone. Neophyte DAG bringing you another message. And this one is called PaRDeS. It's an abbreviation, and I'm going to explain that a little bit more for you in this message. But it's really what it is. It's how to interpret the Bible. And also, along with that, I'm going to give you examples of PaRDeS and also Bible keys, words, and key phrases that if you know, then you can interpret the Bible a lot better than how you have been understanding it, interpreting it, and adding the meaning of it to your own life. Let's start this one. To start it off, we're going to grab a few words of wisdom that are embedded in the Bible on how you can go about and why you should go about continuing to get wisdom on understanding. You don't know everything. No one knows everything. And you have to continue learning more and more each day. And Proverb 4 verse 7 tells you just that. Wisdom is the principal thing. Principal meaning main thing. Can't be any clearer than that. Therefore, get wisdom. You got to be wise. You got to get knowledge. Knowledge leads to wisdom. And then wisdom, where does it lead? It gets you understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. Got to get wisdom. You got to get understanding. Because without knowledge, your mind and your physical body will be kept in captivity. Another one I want you to understand. I'm not telling you these things because I want to be your boss. I want to prove I know more than you or anything like that. No, I'm telling you because knowledge is the key to breaking out of the spells that has been cast on us. There's a lot of lies that has been given to us. Our entire history, our entire schooling, our entire being of who we are has been all one big lie. As time goes on, I can start breaking more and more of those lies to you, but I got to give it to you in small dosage. I can't pour all of it on you all at one time. But hear what I'm telling you. Be wise. Do your own research if you can. If not, just use your inner feeling. And anything I'm giving you, I will not give it to you if I cannot prove it or I haven't proved it to you in what I'm giving you. And the key thing, refuse it not. Hear instructions, be wise, and refuse it not. Once it's coming from wisdom and it's not being detrimental to you, it's empowering you, you got to give it some consideration. Don't refuse it. Absorb it and then go off on your own and analyze it to see what sense you can make out of it. One other thing, 2 Timothy 2 verse 15. This is key. That's why I keep telling you, you got to get wisdom. You got to get knowledge, which leads you to understanding. So how does the Bible tell you? Study to show thyself approved unto God. So you're going to have to study to show the Most High that you're deserving of his approval. There's no other way. You got to get knowledge and wisdom. And a workman and workwoman that needeth not be ashamed. You don't have to be ashamed to go out and get knowledge because everyone is telling you, hey, go down this path. You're going to go there without you getting the own knowledge as to why you should go down that path. We've lived through that time where our schools, our church, our media, our politicians tell us, hey, do this, do that, do that. We didn't question anything about why they're telling us to do it and how detrimental it is to us. Now we have to do that. So you have to study the word of the Most High and his messengers to show thyself approved unto him. And a workman, a workwoman needeth not be ashamed to rightly, it says right, not wrongly, rightly dividing the word of truth. What is the word of truth? The Bible. A conventional Bible and the one that you don't know of, the Apocryphas, the Pseudepigraphas, and other books, the Book of Mormon. There are other books beside the conventional Bible. But you have to study to show yourself approved, and don't be embarrassed or ashamed for studying the Bible outside of the conventional way you've been told to study it. That was all lies. That's blind, giving instructions to the blind. Now you have to open up your own eyes and learn truth. This is what this message is going to give you. This is a quick summary of the Bible itself and the transition the Bible made out of Egypt to Greece, from Greece to Rome, and then a breakaway from Rome, which was England at the time under King James. He broke away from Rome, the Catholic Church. He wanted to have nothing to do with the Catholic Church. He came up with his own version of the Bible, and that's what was passed down to us. Those who are in North America, those who are in the Caribbean, but mainly North America, United States, that's where the book went, the King James Bible, because King James knew that the Bible and the prophecies that are in it are talking about the new Egypt, which is America. America was the old Egypt. It was moved into what we now term our modern day Egypt. That is in Africa. And then it's moving back now to its old location, the United States of America. He knew that, so he wrote the book. But this is where this book is taken from now. When it's moving through all the different hands, it was changed. Many changes that went into the book. If you want to believe or not, it's entirely up to you. But it's hard to think that I'm going to get a book that's coming from someone else and make it exactly the way they had it and not change it to meet my own needs, my own country. That would be a ridiculous thought to think that. It was changed. And when it was changed, it was coded. So only those who had access to the code can understand it. The book was plainly written before when it were in the hands of the Egyptians. Why you need to decode a book when you're the only one using it at the time. But when these other nations got their hands on the book and realized the power in it, they coded it and made it only accessible to themselves. You don't believe me? Go back and do your history. During the Roman time, if you were caught with this book, reading it, you'll be killed. Even up until the late 16 and 1700, you would be killed if you got caught with this book. It's only the aristocrats had access to reading these books. You weren't allowed to read it. If you do get your hands on it, you'll be reading the wrong thing. The literal words, if you could read, by the way, most of us couldn't read, that were coming from some of these former European countries. Only the rich were able to read. Change and tailored to only special people can decode it and get the true meaning of it. Why would they want to do that? The book is a powerful book. Once you know what you're reading, you'll be empowered by the book because there are so many things in it that can be used in practical aspect of your life and move you out of darkness and into light. So we had gone through, it was first the book of Thoth. It had many different books in it, a lot of different books, which covered a whole bunch of subjects. Every subject that affects your life was in the original Bible, which is the book of Thoth. Among them, hymns, rituals, temple construction, astrology, geography, medicine, that was in the Bible. It's still buried in the Bible now. You just know how to decode it. It was all there in one book. So those who got that book figured it out and changed it up so you won't get all that information that you need to get from it. The book of Thoth was transformed into the Septuagint. They took 70 books out of the book of Thoth when Greek conquered Egypt. They took 70 books out of the book of Thoth, coded it as much as they could, and gave it only to the elites. Only those who were of status were able to read these books. And they were special books. All the other books that they didn't want you to know, those were pushed off to the side. And only until later on they were discovered and put into what we now call the pseudepigraphas. All the other books that were left off. But the 70 books, those were the conventional books that were pushed and given to only those who had authority to read it. And that's where Daniel 8 verse 13 comes in, that there's going to be something that happened during the time that Egypt fell to the Greeks, that the sanctuary, which is the holy place of the Egyptians, would be destroyed, and the people that were part of that nation would also be destroyed. And how long it's going to last for, that's what's all asked in Daniel 8, verse 14. They said, how long will it last where the people, the children of Israel, would be trampled upon, and the information they have would be turned and manipulated into lies? And the answer was it would last for 2,300 days. The days were changed. Should be years, but they changed it to days. But when you do get the right meaning of it, and you look at the time when the Egyptians first had to worship a statue that was set up by the Greek, it started in 283 BC. Add 2,300 years to that, you get 2017. 2017 is when everyone who is going through this spiritual transformation started their journey seriously in 2017. That's when the energy started to flow, and everyone who's now affected by that energy, who's making this transformation in their life, started in 17. No question asked. Then this is giving you a little bit of history when the book was in the hands of the Greek, because I want you to get a perspective as to why and how the change occurred, because a lot of us have in our mind the Bible is as is. No, it's not. It's been changed, and the changes were forced upon you to learn it the new way or else. So First Maccabees, which is one of the book that's in the pseudepigrapha, it gives you an outline as to what was happening in Egypt at the time when it was conquered by the Greeks. First Maccabees 1:41. Moreover, King Antiochus, he was one of the ruthless Greek kings, wrote to the whole kingdom that they should be one people, and everyone should leave his book of laws, leave his Bible. So all the heathen agreed according to this law that was just passed by the king. So he said, listen, everybody's going to worship the same religion. We're going to all have one system, but it's going to be the Greek system. You can't worship your own. Our system or else. And many of the children of Israel, the house of Israel, consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. So if they agreed to his religion and sacrifice, that means they were doing something else. What were they doing at that time? They weren't using his religion, they weren't sacrificing unto idols, and they weren't profaning the Sabbath. So they must be doing the opposite of what he was doing. They were doing a different religion. They did not believe in idol worshiping, and they worshiped on the Sabbath. You are a children of Israel, a house of Israel, if you are a dark-skinned person in North America, Caribbean at this time. So you were doing different things than what you're doing now. But let's find out how the king got your ancestors to agree and consented, and it's been passed down to you at this particular point in time. For the king had sent letters by messenger unto Jerusalem and the city of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. He sent his letter out. You got to follow it. You have no choice. And he forbid offering, sacrifice, drink offering in the temple. These were things that our people were doing. Children of Israel. That was in Egypt at that time. And they should profane the Sabbath and all the festival days. We had our festival day. We did worship on Sabbath, hands down. Our festival, we had the covenant festival where we used that day to thank the Most High, Allah, and Thoth, our Lord, for giving us a chance to be attached to the 12 laws and 2 statutes, and for bringing us out of all the different problems that we had. We had our festival day. That's what our covenant is. We made an agreement with the Lord Thoth and with Allah, the Most High, that we shall follow his lead, 12 commandments, the 2 statutes, and we will obey those laws and live them. And in return, he will protect us from all enemies, all evils, and make everything right for us. We were living that life until we started our own descent into doing other things and started moving outside of those laws and statutes of the Most High, of what Thoth had given to our messengers to pass on to us. We rejected them and started doing our own thing. And that's what led to our own demise. Let's read on some more in 1 Maccabees 1. We were ordered to pollute the sanctuary and the holy people, our priests. We were ordered to disregard them. We were ordered to set up altars and groves and chapels, worship idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh. That's pig's flesh. That's what we were asked to do. And other beasts, we were supposed to burn them as offering and eat them. That's what we were asked to do. And that our children should be left uncircumcised. It's not cutting the genital. It meaning start giving them meat to eat. When you're circumcised, that means you've taken yourself away from flesh. When you're uncircumcised, that means you haven't taken yourself away from consuming flesh. So that's the difference. Circumcised, you've taken away flesh out of your diet. Uncircumcised, you've left it in your diet. So they wanted the children to be given meat to eat and to make their souls abominable and filled with uncleanness and corruption and perversion. So that's what the meat does to you. That's why you're being given it now at random and in abundance, so you can continue to make yourself a perversion and a corruption and make your soul hateful, because that's what the meat does. You're taking on the energy of another being, which is of lower spiritual consciousness as you are, and you're pulling that into your own being. Whatever virus, disease, infection that meat has, you're transferring it to your body. Simple as what it is. So you bring that in, you're going to make your soul abominable. And to the end that they might forget God's law, 12 laws and 2 statutes, and change their own ordinances. He wants to change you, to change your way of seeing God and the laws that you were abiding by that was set up by the word of God. Wanted you to move away from that. How did he convince you? You need to move away from it. 1 Maccabees 1 verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the laws of the king, he said he should die. If you didn't do what the king says, you would die. If you didn't take the new Bible that you were getting, you would die. If you use your old Bible, you would die. If you didn't want to skip your Sabbath, you would die. If you didn't want to eat meat, you would die. So anything that the king commanded and you did not do it, you want to go back to your old way of doing things, immediate death. Now, this is very, very profound, and I want you to always remember this verse, 1 Maccabees 3, verse 48, where now this is where the book, the Bible, the book of Thoth, is going to make its change and start taking on the words and the likeness, whether by looks and by thoughts, of the Greeks. Then this was passed down to the Romans, and then it was passed down to our time, where they laid open the book of law, wherein the heathen had thought to paint the likeness of their image. So they were taking the book, changing up the pictures, the image of the people that were in it to look like their image. And that's where you get all these various names that are being thrown out in Bible. Those names did not exist during biblical time. They weren't there. They were just created, anglicized, Latinicized, Grecicized, romanticized. These are all words that pop up out of changing one language into another language. And whoever is the dominant power at that time, they're going to change it to their language. In our time right now, the English is the dominant. So the word anglicize comes in. Everything is changed over to have English names, meaning, and pictures. So when you see anything now, you're seeing it's all white Caucasian people. There's not one Bible now you can open and you'll see a black person in it or a black image. None. Unless it's a specialized Bible. But there's not one conventional Bible that's selling in main stores, main media outlets that will have a black person image in it. How can a book that was originated in Egypt not have black faces in it? Egypt is in Africa. No matter if you say it's Middle East or this, no. It's on the continent of Africa. So how can a book that originated in Africa has no pictures and no stories about Africans? That's scientifically, humanly, spiritually impossible. Impossible. Another thing I want to share with you, I know I'm going over this a lot before I get to the point, but I'll get to it. But I want to show you that something occurred and you have to dig your way out of it in order to find your way back to what your original book is and was. It's your book. It's not the Caucasian person's book. It's not a Caucasian Jewish book. It's not a Caucasian book. It's a dark-skinned black person book, and they were the Jew. The Jew race is the Sephardic dark-skinned Jew. They came out of Egypt. Descendants of Shem, they're called Semites, Semitic. Those are the people that the book is about. It's their book. You are part of that. You're part of that lineage. It's your book written by your forefathers for you at this point in time to get that information. And this is one of the information it's telling you in Isaiah 5, verse 13. Therefore, my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge. If you have no knowledge, those who control the knowledge control the power, and they'll lead you in the wrong direction based on your ignorance. And they're honorable, the leaders and righteous men are famished. That means you have no knowledge at all. You're spiritually lacking and your knowledge is gone. Your wisdom is definitely gone and your understanding is in existence. And their multitude mean many, a lot of people, your flocks, your followers, all the children of that race are dried up with thirst. So they have no knowledge, nothing. We have restarted that knowledge now in 2017. That knowledge has come back to us and we're regaining it, and we will be pulling ourselves out of captivity because now we're getting knowledge. So when you see others are coming up with ideas that are not what you're expecting, not what you've heard, don't discredit them. Don't discount them. Listen, because new knowledge is going to chip away at old knowledge. And those who don't move with the knowledge are going to stay in captivity and they're not going to move forward at all. You can't move forward in ignorance and with lies. Lies have to crumble and new truth, actual truth, has to come aboard. One other verse, Hosea 4, which echoes the one that we've just read from Isaiah. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Hosea 4, verse 6. Truthful to the core. Lack of knowledge is going to destroy you if you don't have the knowledge. Those who control the knowledge will use that control and destroy you and keep you in a servitude position, keep you forever at the tail. But that's not going to happen because it says, how long shall it last? 2,300 years. It ends at 2017. Whoever is controlling you is on borrowed time right now. And if you see what's going on around you where the whole place is collapsing, who's collapsing? Not the ones that were at the bottom. You can't collapse any further if you're at the bottom. It's only those who are at the top has room to drop, and they're going to drop. Thou hast rejected knowledge. Cannot reject knowledge. That's why you're now rejected. I will also reject you. So that's why we found ourselves in these predicament. We rejected the knowledge that were brought by other messengers, other prophets. We threw it out the window, and we actually killed a couple of them when they were delivering the message. You reject the knowledge, you reject the knowledge, you get rejected. And thou shalt be no more priest of the Lord of Thoth. He'll make you no more priest. Seeing that you have forgotten the law. What are the law? The 12 laws and 2 statutes. You have forgotten the laws that were given to you by the Most High. If you want to know what the 5 divine laws are and the 7 Thoth principles, go back to some of my previous messages. I have explained it in full detail. Get an understanding from those messages and bring yourself up to speed. But because now you have forgotten the law, I will also forget you and your children, the offspring. That's us. We are the offspring. That's why we were forgotten, because our parents forgot the laws as was given to them, our forefathers. The sins of the forefathers have become the sins of the children. That's what we have gone through. We are now pulled out of that, and it's going to flip now to those who had us under this captivity and who had destroyed us. They're now going to flip, because the sins that they committed with that knowledge is going to trigger down on their children, and their children now has to pay the price for what they did. We went through it, our race. Now the other race has to go through it. There's no escaping this one. That's why the head would become the tail, and the tail will become the head. You wait and you'll see it, and you don't have to wait very long to see that. It's right around the corner. Another verse, Job 21, verse 14. Therefore the children of Israel say unto the Most High, depart from us, for we desire not the knowledge of your ways. What is his ways? His 12 laws and his 2 statutes. We said we don't desire anything about that. We're going to do our own thing. And we departed from the Most High's way. And then what happened? He departed from us. And the Lord Thoth departed from us. Because Thoth is a high priest of the Most High. He was ordained by the Most High to watch over the children of Israel. But we departed from the Most High. So the Most High departed from us as well as the Lord. So we found ourselves in the predicament that we're in now. But now it's time that we have learned our lesson. Our punishment is over. And it's time for us now to bloom and blossom and work our way back to the head. And whoever is at the head now, they're going to work their way back to the tail. This brings us to PaRDeS. It's a long journey, but we finally got to PaRDeS. And what is PaRDeS? PaRDeS is it's an abbreviation. It's a exegesis terminology to show you how the Bible is structured. Any biblical books are structured this way. It's the Torah, how you study the Torah. The Torah is the book of Thoth. It has books that were drawn from the book of Thoth, and this is how the Torah was put together. PaRDeS. Let's find out what the abbreviation means. So PaRDeS referred to the approach to biblical exegesis in the rabbinic Judaism. What does that mean? It's the ancient Hebrewic ways of encoding message in words, so only special initiates can pull out that meaning. You have a long word, you can sum it up with one phrase or one code or one sign, and someone who knows what that sign is will pull out the right meaning, while others will just see something in front of them, and they'll probably take literally what they see as the meaning. And let's find out how the PaRDeS is formed. The P and the A in PaRDeS means Peshat. That's the word Peshat that's pulled out of PA. What does it mean? It means a straight or the literal meaning. When you read the Bible, you take the literal meaning that you see in front of you and you say, okay, that's what it means. That's just the beginning of PaRDeS, because PaRDeS is broken down in 4 steps that you have to do in order to find the true meaning of the Bible, the way it's been coded and given to you. PaRDeS is the literal. You cannot stop at the literal. You can never stop at the literal. That's the beginning. That's where most people stop. And that's where the church and others who don't want you to move from out of your captivity and out of your destruction will keep you at the literal. But no, you need to go to the next step, which is the R in PaRDeS, which is the Remez. What is that? That's the deep allegorical, hidden or symbolic meaning. It goes beyond the literal sense. So you see something in the Bible, you have to say now, what is an allegor? What is the hidden meaning? What is the symbolic meaning to this thing? What is it trying to tell me? And I'm going to go through examples, but I'm just walking you through now just the abbreviation and what it means. So the deep hidden meaning, wherever you see in the Bible, is a hidden meaning behind the literal meaning. It doesn't just give you the literal and it stops there. But now you're going to even take it a step further. You're going to look at the DE part of PaRDeS, which is Derash. It's to inquire, what does it mean? Seek an answer, to compare it with something else that you see or have read somewhere else. Because an allegory is a comparison of two things. So you want to now say, what is this trying to tell me? How can I match this against other things that I've known? There are similar occurrences in the Bible that matches other events. So you have to pull out the similarities. Why are they similar? What am I supposed to get from these things? So you have to do the Derash. And then once you do that, now it's going to take you to the last level, which is the S in PaRDeS, is the Sod. What is the Sod? It's the secret, the mystery, the mystical meaning of what you're supposed to get out of the biblical verse and the biblical text and the biblical stories. This is the spiritual meaning, the higher knowledge meaning that you have to pull out of whatever you're reading that's in the Bible. So you got to go through these 4 steps. If you're not using these 4 steps and you're telling anyone that you know the Bible, you are talking nonsense. You do not know the Bible unless you go through these 4 steps. No way around it. You have to do these 4 steps. You have to remember the Bible is written by very highly intelligent people who are able to see future events because they're telling you what's going to happen in the future. And they know that this Bible, the book, is going to be taken from you. You're going to fall into captivity. You're going to fall into destruction. Now, do they turn over the entire meaning to those who are going to put you in captivity and empower them to do even more evil? No, they're going to hide things. They're going to disguise things. So only those who are wise to it, or those who are ready to study to show themselves approved, they're the only one who's going to get this. Then now, those who have put people in captivity will torture others to get the true meaning, which they have. And they pull out some meanings, but they don't know the fullness of it. Only one shall have the fullness, and it's Michael. That's written in Daniel, and Michael is a code name for Lewis. If you take Michael from Peshat all the way down to Sod, Michael becomes Lewis when you get to Sod. That's one of the examples I just sort of throw out there to let you know that these codings were put in there to make sure that only the right people can take this book, decode it, and find the hidden meaning, the secret meaning that's in these stories that now you need to know. We're going to bring this one to a close. In part 2, we're going to cover exactly what you need to know in order to move your understanding from Peshat to Sod. Stay tuned. See you next time. Have a blessed and wonderful day.